Good morning, everyone. Chris Gardini. Appreciate the opportunity to present this morning, and I think thanks for the comments, Rokas. Great segue as you think about digital transformation and visioning. Vision is a big deal as you try to imagine the future, and as it's changing rapidly for, executive leadership. It is a required element. There's the cell phone ringing in here. So let's jump right in. Today I'm showing Dynamics GP. I've been around that solution for a long time, 30-something years, and I've had the benefit of watching it grow up as the owner of Turnkey. Again, the introduction of the other applications in our stack really are complementary, and I think as we go through, you'll see the solution has come a long way. So just to get started, quick facts about Dynamics GP. Again, the current release is 2018 R2. Again, this product is positioned as mid-market ERP, ERP Enterprise Resource Planning. So again, we're thinking about financials, supply chain, manufacturing, project, human capital management, service. Formerly called Dynamics Great Plains, initially released February '93, was one of the first accounting packages designed and written to be multi-user and run under Windows 32-bit using a tool called Dexterity. Dexterity was actually developed by the Great Plains team. So they had to break new ground. Again, in 2001, Microsoft acquired these guys with the Solomon product line for $1.3 billion. Shortly thereafter, they rebranded Dynamics GP as part of the overall Dynamics rebranding. Today, about 50,000 companies running in the U.S. Statistically, somebody told me there's 17 million people that get paid from GP Payroll. GP 2018 R2, we just got it. So it was released on October 1st as part of Microsoft's broad 2018 release wave. This is the 15th full release of the product, and what that kind of implies is maturity, stability, well-supported, highly scalable. Okay. Microsoft continues to develop the core solution in terms of feature set, as well as the compatibility and the integration into the Microsoft Cloud Stack. Recently, the release of the Microsoft Intelligent Cloud Integration. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Options to buy, traditional Cal license purchase with annual software assurance can be installed on-premise on your servers. It could be hosted in a private or public cloud, or Microsoft GP is available as a full subscription model through Microsoft hosting partners in a Microsoft partner-hosted ecosystem. There is a full client and a web client. We'll take a look at both of those today. Full, limited, and self-service licensing options. So again, different choices of how we license depending on the role and the needs of the end user. So large ISV community, industry software vendors, again, being around for 25 plus years, plug-in options, and you'll see that with all the solutions you'll see today, but EDI, e-commerce, credit cards, advanced warehouse management, demand planning, and much more. And my presentation today will not be all PowerPoint. So from a visualization, the web client, this has grown in maturity. Again, the initial release, and today that screenshot is we'll go into the live product is for the R2 release. It's a full HTML5 application. Again, I've configured my environment with an internet-facing deployment, which means I can pop this thing open with a DNS entry from anywhere. You certainly could do that in a secure manner. It uses Active Directory authentication. Again, supported across all devices, iOS, Android, Windows OS. I chose the sales transaction entry window because I could have a rep in the field on a tablet that's doing quotes and orders for a customer while sitting across from them. So there's an experience that we can drive all the way down. Image of the full client. Again, not too different, but this is the fat client install. And again, these things are typically deployed either local desktop, remote desktop, or via remote app. So again, a lot of choices in terms of deployment options with the solution. Again, as you think about the UI and the embedded drill through business analyzer, SQL, and Power BI reporting objects, embedded business process management and work queue consoles, single-click navigation through applications, forms, and subforms, extensive personalization. So again, the whole thing on this UI is adaptable, configurable. Let's get the workloads right in front of the operator so that they're most efficient and productive. This is a pretty busy screenshot, and part of the reason a lot of the content's in the presentation deck is because we are pushing that out. So I'm not going to read through this, but Microsoft packages this up in a starter pack where everything in the orange blocks is in the base license, and then as you look at the bottom tier, the extended pack, but certainly not everybody needs manufacturing or project accounting or field service, but as we look at these are all OEM directly from Microsoft, and it's very extensible. So these are direct from Microsoft features, customization tools, more human resources and payroll. Again, but really everything an organization needs to run their business with just the starter pack. Modules, same thing. I am not going to read through this, but as you can see from a glance, it's extensive. Again, things you'd expect. Most people are looking for GLAR, AP, fixed assets, and banking, but we go way beyond that in terms of electronic banking, flowing monies in and out, both EFT payables, EFT receivables, lockbox, e-reconcile, safe pay, positive pay. So a lot of capability. And again, as you get into nonprofit, features for grant management, encumbrance management. In the enterprise configurations, we've got field level security. We've got enterprise level security that's inherent in the system. Think about account level, where someone only sees the part of the chart of accounts that's appropriate for the department as they're distributing accounts payable transactions. So again, we can micromanage this application in an enterprise multi-site setting. Business intelligence, again, very robust as you think about all-in-one document viewers, management reporters, a financial reporting tool. Cubes is data warehousing. So this thing ships with a full data warehouse that plugs into SQL Server analysis services. Very powerful cubes, financials, payables, receivables, project, inventory, sales, purchasing. So again, we're talking about Excel-based pivot table type of analysis. Refreshable Excel reports, there's a couple hundred of them. So if you think about user experience, whether I'm in the system, whether I'm sitting in an app, whether I'm sitting in Excel, whether I'm on my phone, I've got so many very user experiences in consuming information. Smart List Designer, the Office 365 workspace, Power BI dashboards, Power BI reports, SQL Server reports packs, enormous amount of content. So again, I've got a 15 versions app, and you can see that Microsoft has spared no expense in including lots of capability here. Couple visualization slides. These are the Power BI packs that come with GP. Again, as we have a Power BI license, which is a small footprint, we can extend our Dynamics GP data out through a Power BI experience. You're going to see that those are going to be common across all the products that we represent, so nothing necessarily unique. Document attached, this is not a full workflow metadata type of document system, but it is a fully encapsulated in SQL, available via the web client, and there is scan options available directly from within GP. So again, if people need light document management, it's built in, but certainly access to all the information from any user experience is a very big value add. The financial reporting tool, very extensible. If you think about simple financials or complex financials, I actually ran my business on this for 15 years. Today we run on the much larger Dynamics 365 AX product, but it's the same tool. But our ability to define financial statements, whether that's profit and loss, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, supporting schedules, trial balance, and the unique characteristics of this is your building blocks of rows, columns, and trees, and having some intelligence in here where this thing runs and generates statements and refreshes them, and then we've got constituents that are consuming those. Security is embedded into these things where, I can have a reporting tree for departments where, I've identified the users that have access to this department. So I can publish one report, and when the users log into the report, security changes the experience, and data that they're not entitled to just basically disappears. So very capable tool. Consolidations, intercompany eliminations, all of those things can be embedded into this application. And again, this is a user-facing tool, which means we don't have to configure these. People have that ability to copy, paste, save as, and do so forth. So web-based experience. So again, we've got drill down capability. I can drill all the way down to the subledger through these reports if I end up having a GP license. But certainly it packages up all the data, whether it's account level or actually transaction level, into that drill down. Business Analyzer is another app that's out there from Microsoft. It's in the Microsoft App Store. If you wanted to download it, you can pull it down. Just search for Dynamics Business Analyzer. But this is an app that'll run on your phone, on your tablet. And again, you're connecting back to that core data model. So the single source of truth is a true statement, around all these applications. But, my experience, maybe I'm a CFO and I'm sitting on the beach and I want to see financial statements, and I can drill through all that data. I don't have to call anybody at the office. So another great user experience. It's just part of the collection that comes with Dynamics GP. Supply chain management, the starter pack has everything that a distribution business needs. Everything from sales order processing, advanced pricing, order management, inventory, bill of materials, requisitions through purchasing, approvals, landed cost, even replenishment tools. So quite capable supply chain management. We will go into the product and do a quote to cash illustration in a minute here. But again, some content in here for follow-up. Same thing with requisitions. As we think about that licensing, there's a nice self-service license where I can have people out in the field actually create a requisition and submit it and start that workflow process right at the beginning. If I'm doing budgeting, I can encumber, I can do a budget check, I've got all those things, and this is through a web client experience. Again, that could be a tablet out in the field. If I'm project-centric, I've got project capabilities. I could create a requisition, allocate it to a project, to a cost code. And so again, in that project mentality, I'm allocating my requisition from the onset, whether it's expense, capital, or inventory supplies. Again, great for remote locations, full workflow and approvals built into the system here. Human resources and payroll. Again, as I mentioned, 17 million people get paid through Dynamics GP. This is quite extensive and robust. We just had a client that came on that does about 8,000 W-2s a year, and they're multi-state, and they have lots of complications, and GP rises to the occasion because of all of that capability that's matured over the years. And again, a full set of web applications to support the employees. Going into recruiting, applicant tracking. If we think about starting the hiring process here, these applications are here. There are actually external self-service applicant self-entry capabilities if we need to plug in the people out in the field, and we don't want to hand key the resumes. Taking it all the way through employee maintenance and human resources management. So quite complete. Configuration tools, again, whether it's simple integrations, more complex integrations, real-time integrations, again, workflow, a set of tools. Microsoft's really thrown everything you need into this application. Again, due to the maturity of it, there's not much missing. I mentioned workflow. Again, very extensible. It's built into the UI, so you don't have to be a SharePoint specialist to go in and create a workflow or a simple or a complex workflow. It does use Active Directory hierarchy for manager routing. Again, a user experience. I could get a workflow approval notification on my phone, and that's my experience in participating in the system here. So I don't have to be a full user in the system to participate in workflow. Extended pack, I mentioned, there's a lot of advanced capability in distribution and picking available to promise and returns management, in manufacturing and service call, in project. Just a few screenshots, manufacturers, project accounting, again, field service, again, even a look at subscription billing. We mentioned ISVs. This is how clean a third-party product can plug in. We've done a lot with hosting providers with this particular application. This lets them set up those static amounts that, hey, I'm rebilling you every month. And so as you think about just a little boutique plug-in to fill in a gap, and credit cards is another one. We can plug this in with credit cards where I can generate. We've got a company we just did with 3,000 invoices a month, and he hits their credit card, and it's a very fast process for them. So that's it for me on PowerPoint. So now I get to give you a little bit of flash here. So if I log back into my experience here, again, this is full Dynamics GP client, and again, I'm going to do a little bit of comparison here, and I'm going to pop up, here's a web client, and you might say, okay, that's, and no matter what you might hear, Dynamics GP is a very well-supported product, large community, a large audience of talented individuals out there supporting this in my organization and on a national and international basis. So, but as you get a quick look at navigation, so again, web client, full client, what you can see is, why would I do one versus the other? And a lot of times it's preference, but as you get this power of choice, GP gives you a huge power of choice. And if you think about things that they've done, is they've plugged this into the Microsoft Intelligent Cloud. If we drive back onto the GP side and we look at just the extensive personalization here, I don't know who's playing around and kicking me out of this thing, but we're going to log back in, and hopefully my team will understand that we're doing a presentation here. So this is a SQL login authentication, as well as it will do Active Directory authentication as well. So the web client is using Active Directory. The GP can also use Active Directory. We can do single sign-on with this as we get into SOC compliant or highly compliant application environments. We can take this thing up a notch. There are actually applications that can plug into GP for separation of duties. It is a multi-company, multi-entity, where when we configure this application, we actually tell which users have access to which company. So I could have 50 entities, and you log in, and you're only going to see that entity that's appropriate to you. So as we think about configuration, and I will show the menus, is because there is extensive system configuration, both at the system level and at the company level. So as you think about personalization, system, company, user, and so forth. And, some of the extensibilities, we think about security. GP is a pessimistic application. It does not give you any rights until you exclusively assign rights. Rights and security are actually loaded on a role-based manner where Microsoft preloads all the roles. And so by company, we're in here determining what roles does an individual have. I don't have to figure this out. I don't have to invent it. It's a very easy process. But even jumping right in there, you think, okay, how easy is GP to set up and implement? Microsoft actually creates a setup checklist for you. So they've really wanted to make this thing simple for organizations to use and to implement. So as this thing paints in here, you'll see a setup checklist that kind of flies through. One other app while that's loading is I'm going to pop open my business analyzer, and I'm going to give you a look at this guy, and I'm going to slide it over onto this desktop here. And, in terms of Business Analyzer, I mentioned this is an app that can live all kinds of places, but this look gives you a great look of some of the types of reporting objects that we can have in here instead of the interoperability of these. And, and again, whether I'm looking at a single company, whether I'm the CFO, what's my role, I've got the ability to come in here and change companies, to change roles. I mentioned financial statements. Financial statements plug in right here. So these are coming directly from that tool management reporter. I don't have to go print, run, or generate anything. They're right here. If I had the drill down viewer attached, I could do that. I have the ability to download these things to Excel and take them offline. But as I indicated, it's a roles-based architecture. So if I happen to come in here and decide that I want to be the sales manager, I'm going to get a whole different experience, a whole different set of analytics. Again, what are these analytics? They're all powered by SQL Server. So they're back-end applications, whether it's coming from analysis services or SQL Server. All of the code, all of these reporting assets are all basically centrally located. So we're sharing the same information across the entire platform. And here's that setup checklist I referred to. So again, if you think about, well, how do I set up financials? Oh, how do I set up general ledger? Click, 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 click. These are drive-through type of features where I just dive through the windows. So some of the characteristics of GP is very easy navigation, very fast, and say, hey, I finished that? Yep, I'm done. And so if you think about how easy and how intuitive this is to use, and, people look at GP and think, okay, ease of use. And I have a lot of organizations that use this application that find great efficiency in using it. So let's leave the setup checklist. Other things that we might talk about that we set up, account formats. We can get to, we could get to a deep level of personalization, and this is actually very configurable. I decide that my chart needs to change. I can increase the size of my chart of accounts and so forth. So again, a few things we're talking about is navigation. If I pop back to the home page for a second and just explain a little bit more about this, things that are important in an organization. We talked about putting users on task. Reminders, custom reminders. One of the neat things that they've embedded in here is this, self-help. How easily can I get access to my information? There are a lot of assets that are packaged up out of the box, but this particular little tool called the Smart List gives you access to the entire span of information in the system. By category, it allows you to create favorites. Favorites become actionable information. You think about past due customer transactions. How do I put people on task? And you notice that these workloads came right off of my homepage. So part of that configuration and personalization is I have to set these things up, and I'm looking for work that needs to be done. It could be customers on hold. It could be customers over the credit limit. And if you think about actionable BI, this is a great example where their credit limit's 50, their balance is 80. Well, what do I need? Maybe let's go look at their payment summary information. And maybe it's my job to manage these people. And in doing so, I'm in here looking at, okay, their average days to pay is 30, they're at 80,000, their credit limit's 50. Okay, well, what do I do? And again, I'm going to drill right through this customer, and maybe I want to go in here and make a change. And, I'm going to go in here and take a look at, okay, let's go down to their credit limit. You know what? I'm going to go and bump it up, and I'm going to give them 85,000. And there is a collections management module that shows up in here. So if I want to get even more robust in note keeping and why did I do this, but even my ability to change this credit limit, say, well, I'm going to give them that, but if they go over 30 days by as much as $1, I want a warning. Okay, so that's a simple behavior. But as we think about what I've just demonstrated here is I've completed a work, and as I come back to my to-do list and I refresh this, I have less work. So the concept of these reminders on the homepage is they're actionable. If there's no work, they don't show up. If work shows up, it ends up on here, the homepage refreshes. So again, a big deal on putting people on task, and the Smart List interface is a big part of that. So let's go back to the web client for a second, because everybody's always skeptical and saying, is it really usable? And so I wanted to do a couple of illustrations of a business process. And, if I think about the one that I was showing, so my quote to cash illustration, as I walk through, I'll do a quote, we'll convert it to an order, we'll convert it to an invoice. There's a lot of other things that could be happening behind the scenes here depending on my configuration. So this is a demo environment, it's sample data. It's a little bit tuned up, and as I come in, and let's just drive right back to where we were. And we're going to do a sales transaction here is a look, and then we'll go over, we'll do the procure to pay, and then we'll look at a couple of other examples. So they've got me on limited time this morning, but I can talk for hours. So quote, some of the things about the forms, and even from the web client, is Hyperlinks, can I drill back through a window? And so some of the neat characteristics of GP is just that. Hyperlink fields allow us to drill back to the source data without having to close a window and open another window. And the reason I came to this is because, the important thing to understand is there are different types of quotes that could be in the system. I can have a standard quote, I can have a repeating quote, I can have a blanket quote. Okay, well, why is that important? Well, I have different rules, different properties, different behaviors. I can have different forms. Behind the scenes in Dynamics GP, it's using Microsoft Word as a form engine. So again, invoices, quotes, picking tickets, packing lists, purchase orders, everything's a Word document, which also means you can go change it very efficiently. So again, drill through different types of things. Let's do a quote. I'll tab through. Again, customer side, can I add a new customer here? New guy. Again, I'm not probably, I want to add a new one. Is it a prospect? So again, one of the things that's predicated is I have to have permissions to be able to pop open these windows. But if I wanted to create a new customer, I could do that. Maybe I'm just doing a prospect. So again, I got some CRM-ish behavior in here. We can plug in Dynamics CRM on the front end, do quotes there, and have them automatically show up in GP. So let's go ahead and back up here. Same thing, if I wanted to find an existing customer, I can search. I've got autocomplete in here, which is nice. It fills in and it remembers. Let's go more. Let's take a look. We can bring up a list. And one of the things about this list is I've got search engines in here that really are the smart lists. So again, a lot of interoperability, meaning if I wanted to get a list of items that's just finished goods, I can have a sub list so that my people are actually even more efficient on that. Let's go and grab APA supply. Again, I have multi-ship-to capability here. Does he have any ship-tos on file? He does not. Let's create a new ship-to. A day in the life of customer service. You want to add this customer? Nah, let's not add this customer. Let's actually back up here. Let's show you the day in the life. Let's delete the order. Again, part of what's important here is you're seeing, okay, how hard is it to use this guy here? AARON-FIT. Let's go see if we can find Aaron Fit. He's one of my favorite customers. There's Aaron Fit. So again, we could do a new ship to. I'm going to batch. Let's call it the CG Rocks batch. We can have lots of sales batches. Let's add a batch. Batches are not required, but if we want to save information, they are required. But they also give us the ability to do a lot of bulk activities, customer POs, multi-warehouse. So I'm down to the line items, but as you look at the form, again, doc attach. Anywhere in the system, I can attach a document here. Let's go grab it. Pick the wrong button here. So here I am. What am I browsing out for? I can attach PDFs, Excel files. Anywhere in the system, whether it's scanned in. We don't want to get all that stuff. Okay, so I think that you get the idea on doc attach. But that is everywhere that we see that little icon. And once we put something in there, and it could be customer notes that show up. It could be a doc attach. Again, we've got email entry. We've got detailed information buttons here. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't see. If we think about the inventory items, again, I have a hyperlink here where I can actually dive off, and I'm going to do that. I don't have to do this to key in order, but I want to give you a little bit more exposure into the system here. And so I'm going to actually bring up an item that I'm going to use today. It's the 1 gig proc. And so as we look at our inventory master here, come on. That's my typing skills, guys. So some of the characteristics of inventory, we have different types of inventory that we support, both perpetual, services, miscellaneous charges. Taxability, the system will handle all of our taxes for us. We've got FIFO, LIFO, average, standard costing. But then I've got a lot of related information. Again, what kind of currencies, what's the price list, where do I stock it, how do I buy it, who do I buy it from, resource planning, how do I replenish the item engineering data, how do I manufacture the item, and on and on and on. If it's manufactured, if it's standard cost, we get into standard cost maintenance. So there's a lot of related information around an item. I might just show you pricing for a second here. We assign price lists and price levels by customer. I tell it that, hey, I typically sell them in the eaches. Can I have a different pricing besides eaches in the retail? Okay, let's go. And this comes back to unit of measure schedules. And if we think about what are the unit of measure schedules, do I have more than an each? Oh, well, I could sell it by the case. But if you buy it by the case, do I give you a better price? Maybe I'm going to give you a case for $900, which might be a 10% discount. So I actually can set up my currencies for these different items as well. So I can sell US-based, I can sell international. This system will do taxes on taxes, so it will comply with all international tax regulations. It will print the taxes on the invoices. So we drilled back to the item. We did a little price update. Same thing. I could have attachments in here. I've got internet profiles on just about everything in the system here. I could have a link. Typically in an e-commerce situation, we could have links out here, we could have images, and these things will sync automatically with an e-commerce site if we flag the item for e-commerce. So a lot more going on behind the scenes here, but in the essence of time, as I watch the clock tick away here. So let's actually go ahead and finish the order. Let's put this 1 gig proc on this quote, and I'm going to tab through, and I'm going to want 10 of these, and it picked up my price 100, but what if I want to come back and sell them a case, and I'm going to get 10 of that. Okay, my pricing on the cases, we can expand the line items. You know, maybe I want to come in here and say, well, I need to update the ship date, so let's do a few things at the order level, and let's say requested ship date is going to be, let's make it the 12th. Okay, let's change that. We've got the item in here. It's a quote. I can print my quote. It could be a Word quote, like I said. So even in terms of looking at the templates and so forth, let's just do these things quickly. And again, I could email at the same time. So again, we've got baked in email. Microsoft bakes in a copy of Word runtime, so I can generate things in PDF without a PDF writer. Let's go ahead and kick this thing up real quick, and we'll see it pop open here in a second. And let's open that document up. So just as, and it's popping on my other screen here, we'll drag it over. There is a plugin for Microsoft Word, which is the designer, and there it is. And so there's an example of a standard quote. I haven't added a logo. There's features in here to manage these templates. And again, there's a plugin that drops into Word that lets you design it. And essentially, it's a mail merge that's connected to Dynamics GP. So very easy to use. So we've created a quote, and let's go ahead and walk this into an order. And so, you know, customer calls, hey, I want that. There are options to transfer. So again, we transfer quotes to orders, orders to invoices. We can do those as individuals. We can do those in bulk. In this case, I'm just going to transfer this one document. Oh, credit limit. Okay, we want that checked. We don't want to let Aaron continue to buy stuff unless he's in alignment here. So, okay, now I've got an inventory shortage. What do I want to do? Oh, let's back order all of it, or we back order the balance. And those are going to be company policies, but maybe I'm going to back order everything here for this guy. And that's turned into an order. So there is a full set of back order control. Don't need to look at the transfer log. And one comment is if I don't print reports, the system has such a robust audit trail that I can reprint any reports at any point in time. So now I've got an order. Again, what do I want to do with it? It's actually got a back ordered quantity on it. Do I generate this? I let my back order people manage this. You know, other things that live in here is the ability to tender cash on an order, whether I'm doing a cash deposit, I could drop in a credit card deposit. Again, at the point where I invoice it, you know, let's just be clear. I book a deposit. It's a prepaid. It does not hit my accounts receivable and distort that. When I convert to an invoice, it will reverse the deposit and book it as cash against the invoice. So again, a lot of capability in here. A lot of components that can plug into this. So again, you know, that final step, I've gone through shipping, fulfillment. Can I transfer this to an invoice? Let's just do it and see if it'll cooperate with us today. And again, live demo, anything can happen. Let's go cancel the log, and let's see what we get here. Do we get an invoice? We still have, well, what did it do? Did it go to an invoice? Let's bring this back. It may not have because it's back ordered, and that's probably the case there. So yep, it's still sitting here. It's a back order transaction. So, but again, a little bit of a look at sales order processing. If I take a step back there, and then actually I'll pop open something else again, we're going to do this one more time. As we think about, you know, how far can this go in a manufactured environment, and let's just do a little quicker one, and let's grab Aaron again. And I'm not typing his whole number. Answer on. Is that him? Cancel that. Come on, Aaron. He's got an extra 0 in there. There's Aaron. So if we come down, and I'm just going to jump ahead here. And one of the things is if I grab a manufactured item, I just want to point out that the integration all the way through manufacturing and we got credit checking here. So what it jumped up is this is a manufacturing preference. And so if I'm doing manufacturing, you know, there's questions as do I build a stock, do I build to order? This obviously is a build to order situation where I can generate an MO for this customer. So I'm taking a per order and I can generate a manufacturing order. You know, what else can I do? I could go look at the bill of materials that goes along with this. And again, just to punctuate how complete this is and how efficient we can be. But now I'm looking at the BOM that sits behind this item that I'm just trying to order. So again, very connected, very drill-through-ish. You also see the configurator button. So there is a sales order configurator that's built into this as well. I'm going to quit right there. I'm actually going to assign this to a batch so that I can get out of here, but I think you get the idea of some of that extensibility behind this. Let's save this order. Okay. So the little quote to cash illustration, if I come back to my area pages, let's go to purchasing for a minute. Let's just go look at a standard payables transaction. You're thinking, what's faster? Full client, web client. So this look is a navigation pane list, and you haven't seen this version of the navigation, but some of the characteristics of this is as I highlight records, I have different behaviors that come up alongside. And if you think about workloads and queues and transactions submitted, pending approval, well, I'm getting visualization of data in the system through a different user experience. And the the navigation list showed up around the time Office 2007 showed up. So ribbons, and everybody liked that. Hey, work from left to right. So again, the standard purchasing area page where I see all the menu options kind of looks like this. The rec to cash or the rec to pay is just that. Let's open up a purchase requisition. And in the world of doing a rec, I can generate one of these things and I can sit out here and send this for approval. I can allocate it down to a project, down to a cost code. There's a point where somebody's going to approve it and they're going to turn it into a PO. And let's actually go take a look at the purchase order aspect of this. And so purchase orders, capital, replenishment, stock, and so forth. And again, as you think about purchasing workflow, POs, review, approval to vendor, receiving transaction, three-way match, all the way through vouchering. Let's do the more usual transaction. Let's just do an AP transaction entry here. Now again, this overview is not going to give people the depth into all the features you may be interested in, but I think really what the goal here has been from a look, feel standpoint, really visioning and extensibility. So where am I at? All right, I'm going to do this real quick here. We'll go right back to this one. Let's just change gears on UI for a second. So as we're looking at transaction entry, I think I'm knocking myself out, guys, in case anybody's wondering who's doing that. When I log into the web client, I'm knocking myself out of the full client because I'm using the same login. So I don't know that there's anybody behind the scenes here that's creating problems for me other than myself. So there's nothing wrong with GP. It's just that I'm logged in the same install with two different experiences using the exact same user ID. So we're going to finish up the demo in the full client here. We've got about 10 more minutes for me to kind of show you a few more good things here. And I get to come back at the end and do a recap across all three products. So we're back in the full experience. Let's jump around here. And again, as you see this full experience, you might say, oh, I like that better than the web client. I mean, again, it's all preferential. It really depends on where you're at. And as this thing refreshes, there's a lot of different ways that we can experience GP. So this is standard AP transaction entry. Again, I'm able to use my tab key. Again, I'm still in batches. Why do I want batches? Again, I can workflow batches. Batches are going to let me do approvals. And as I'm coming in here, again, Control L, we've got keyboard lookups. We've got a lot of things going on in here. Document numbers. The system will do duplicate document detection while we're in here. Standard PO or standard AP transaction entry. I can cut a check right on the fly here if I needed to. Again, it assumes that I have security for this kind of stuff. And, if I come in, great, that quick, I'm printing a check. Top, bottom graphical. I tell people this is one of the fastest things you could do if you've got security to do that and somebody's waiting for a check. This assumes a pre-printed check. There's also mickering that can be in here where to lay down all the ink and print out to a magnetic cartridge. So this one is stamped from an audit standpoint. We've got GL distributions here. We can add more comments in here if needed. Again, we've got dimensional accounting in here. If this account was lit up for more dimensional distributions, we could plug that in as well. Standard AP. Let's do another voucher. Members my vendor. There's my document. Oh, duplicate. We just did that one. Standard AP. Let's do another one. Auto distribute. Rules and properties are going to come from the vendor record. It really knows where to land his expense. Drilling back. We saw that in the web clients. The same experience. I'm able to open up these windows. I can drill down. I can drill into address records. We mentioned internet profiles. They're everywhere. So again, how do I email this guy? Do I copy him? Does somebody else get a copy? It's per ship to address. I can have these different profiles across the entire company. But even personalization, what do I email for vendors? POs, remittance advice. If I'm paying them EFT, I don't have to print anything. Maybe this guy likes to get PDF documents instead of Word docs. Let's personalize that. I can even come back in here and personalize his message IDs. To that point, every email, every guy that's getting a note could get a personalized note. Again, as we're looking at building out these different message strings to communicate to our customers. So again, as we go past vouchering and setting up vendors and so forth, really the payment process, if we max this out, is really how do we come here and let's build a payment batch, and let's say this is CG Pay. System knows about EFTs, checks, and credit cards, which means I can pay an entire batch with my American Express card, and then it'll move that over to the American Express vendor so that when I get the credit card statement, I'm in there reconciling against that. Or it's an EFT batch. So again, very intelligent about batch types. We come in here and select, how do I pick? The most likely one is due date cutoff. Hey, next time I'm paying bills, it's over here. Pay everybody that's due by then. Oh, do I take non-qualifying discounts? Build that batch. It's going to analyze all our AP. Again, assumptions in here is that we've got vendor term codes correct, and it knows how to calculate from invoice date, due dates, or when the discount dates are. And again, it's going to come in here and analyze all of this stuff, and it's going to come up with a recommendation to pay probably $1 million worth of stuff. Let's see what we get here. It's working. Chug, chug, chug. Yeah, maybe there's nothing. So from the selection process, then we actually get that ability to come in and edit the payment batch. And we can take a look at, and it's still working, but obviously it's pulled some, but now I get a presentation by vendor of what's being paid, what invoices are being paid, and I could actually say, well, I'm going to come down and look at that one. You know what, I am not going to pay that $10,000 invoice, and so great, I just changed his check, and just that easy, I could come down and say, well, let's go in and edit this particular vendor payment, and if I come down and look at what's being paid, and of course there's the $1.2 million I thought we'd get in the batch, and I'm down here doing the applied, so this particular one, I could come in here and take a terms discount, if that's available, or even if it's not, so I can edit these things. Maybe I only want to pay $10,000 of this. Okay, so just this simply, I'm in here editing this vendor's batch, and essentially, where do we get by the end of this? We're going to route this thing for an approval, okay? And once we've got to that point, and it's been routed and it's been approved, I can come in here and I can pull up that batch, and I've got the ability to pay it, okay? And again, I'm printing checks in this context. If it was an EFT batch, I process that, and then we really come down here and process remittance advice for the batch. It's going to email that stuff out, and then we end up coming in and generating an EFT file. And believe it, it knows how to talk to the bank. It knows where the bank is. It knows the bank has an FTP site. So if I drop back to financial for a second here, because we haven't teased too much on that, general ledger accounts, just to punctuate drill down, is I've got that ability to analyze data and keep an unlimited number of open and historical years. And just as easy as I grab a row and I drill in on a hyperlink, and I grab, oh, I want to go look at this journal entry, and I drive back to the JE, I can see cash receipts journal. I can drill all the way back to the source. So one of these unique things about GP is just drill through. Now I'm back to sales order processing. I could actually email that invoice back out to the customer from here, but maybe I need more. I'm drilling down. I'm down to the item. Let's do an item inquiry. Let's go back and, let's get back to the item record. So as you can see, I just opened up about 15 windows trying to chase down the question about what happened with that journal entry. Okay, so GP, I said one single click. I could have gotten to this from the financial report writer if I want. So again, it's a very, very quickly, and you're like, hey, how do I clean that mess up? Can I clear all those windows off? There is a way to close all the windows, and we get back to that particular point. So again, things I haven't touched on. I saw there's some screenshots in there, some visualizations. We talked about project. The project ledger is quite capable. People that have the extended pack get the project ledger. Why would they use projects? There's time and expense. Even if you're not a project shop, people set up projects to manage expense. And then there's an app for employees to use. You can give employees a small little self-service app to do expense reports. And again, they're coding expense reports against projects and categories, and what happens then? We get allocations down to the general ledger, we get workflow, we get a business process where expense reports are submitted, they're reviewed, approved, and they're paid out through accounts payable or through payroll. So again, a lot of neat purposes for project ledgers. We ran this for professional services. There's a lot of things we can do in here, even in terms of looking at allocations of revenue by period and charts. So very capable solution. As you think about project versus job costing, we've got both options. We've got job costing that'll do DCAA, government, contractor compliance. So again, we talked a little bit about manufacturing. Again, there's about 8 or 9 modules in manufacturing, everything from, bill of material definitions. And, as you think about complexity, we go from simple BOMs to very complex multi-level bill of materials. We've got an engineering change management module in here for people that are complex. We have automated, food processing, so people that have process manufacturing that has limited support for process unless we do a plug-in for more advanced process manufacturing, but handles discrete manufacturing. It will handle batching. Again, behind the bill of materials, we're developing and defining detailed routings. So what do we get here? This is labor. We can set up labor codes, machine codes, work center codes. We can actually do standard. We can collect data. So there's clocking applications. I can scan in. I can do retinal employee verification. So again, extensibility goes and goes and goes. I've got a project where we've got clients that are using PLM solutions, and there's integration between PLM and GP manufacturing. So again, we've got real-time feeds from the applications where the engineers are working on bill of materials and specifications for manufacturing, where continuously is updating GP. So again, the extensibility of the solution, very strong. In the market 30 years. Again, I think it competes very well in from a price value proposition as well as feature functionality. There is a ton of stuff in here. And I am going to be respectful of the clock, and my time is up. And again, I want to thank you guys and for listening to me. And again, I'm very bullish on Dynamics GP. Dynamics GP is a very successful product and has a lot of future in front of it. So